Thank you for joining us on the Word of Encouragement here on this Tuesday. And today I'd like to go to the passage that I referred to yesterday, and that is 1 Timothy chapter 2. Here we have the exhortation for us to pray for all that are in authority, and we need to take that seriously. By the way, when you do, it's encouraging, because even if you struggle believing that people that you're praying for could be touched, God is working, and the Spirit of God will comfort your heart as you cry out for their souls and ask God to work. And then to pray for folks everywhere to be saved. And then we have the instructions about how we should come into the assembly of God's people. And for the men, it says in verse 8, I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubting. We need to have men who are known to be men who pray. Now it's interesting, the key here of having men who know how to pray so that God can work, there are several things about them. They have holy hands. In other words, they're right with God. What they're doing, how they live, their lifestyle is set apart, holy, unto what God has ordained and consecrated to Him. And that will show up then in the fact that they're not going to be reacting and having a wrong attitude or doubting. I dealt with this verse several years ago as we were dealing with some of the key problems that we were having with government and the issues all through the COVID era. That was a very difficult, frustrating time when we had things that just didn't make sense occurring. And we never are in a place that God can work if we have an angry spirit. But we need to come to the Lord as men, always with our hearts right toward Him and toward our fellow man. And then we have women need to come with a modest heart, a genuine heart of understanding the need for purity, just like with the men, and to have a godly testimony. When we do that, God can work. And so in this day and age in which we live, instead of being intimidated by it, we need to be praying for those in leadership, those who are influencers, and we need to not let them influence us, but we need to be holy men, we need to be godly women, we need to have churches that are distinctly different than the world so that we live out what the Bible teaches. When we live out what the Bible teaches by the grace of God, we can be in a place to really see God answer prayer and do mighty things. That's how cultures are changed. When God's people are free in their hearts and loving the Lord and serving Him and their lives are pleasing to Him, that has an enormous influence on any culture. So as we look at all the things around us, let's be men and women of prayer, and let's let God change our lives so we can see Him work in a mighty way throughout the land and see many people come to know Him.